Central Oregon is filled with great parks. Stover Park, Drake Park, and Farewell Bend Park, to name a few. But the one I'm standing in is extra special to a lot of people.
Well, in the scheme of Bend parks, I think Hollinshead Park is one of the most beloved, and everyone knows the barn. But very few people know the story of the houses and buildings that are attached to the barn that are behind us.
The barn at Hollinshead Park is a popular place for weddings and other local events. And of course, if you have a canine, you probably know about how popular this place can be as an off-leash dog park. This place started out as Timberlane Ranch, owned by Dean and Lily Hollinshead. Dean's family came to Central Oregon in the late 1800s, before Bend even existed. And it was before Bend had the railroad too, so Dean became a freight man, the lifeline for Central Oregon goods to make it to market. Dean met lovely Lily on one of his deliveries to Silver Lake, and the two got married and did well enough to move into town and find some property for Dean and Lily to indulge their love of horseback riding.
So Timberlane Ranch was Dean and Lily's dream, to have horses, be able to raise Tennessee walkers, and just go horseback riding and enjoy life.
The ranch was 120 acres, much of it just begging to be farmed. But Dean knew about horses, not planting. Enter Jim and Virginia Matson.
But my dad knew how to farm, and so when we got acquainted with Dean and Lily Hollinshead, they very quickly shook hands on a sharecropping deal. My dad would farm the 120 acres and take care of that, and they would just split the profits on different things.
Sharon's father Jim grew a lot of things on the ranch, but one crop stood out from the rest.
Potatoes. My goodness, Dad grew so many potatoes. If you had potatoes, French fries in Bend, Oregon, the Midget Drive-In and Skyline Steakhouse, if you had French fries there, you had potatoes from my dad's place.
And Sharon shares an intimate moment with this place.
So Sharon Rosengarth was actually born in this house in 1939.
My dad delivered me. He didn't, I don't know whether I came that fast or what, but my dad took care of it. He delivered a lot of calves, no problem, you know. So I did fine, I guess. I must have did everything right. Here I am.
And she comes out here regularly and gives personal tours and tells stories about her childhood growing up on the ranch and what it was like to grow up in a farm without electricity in a tiny house with two brothers.
Now, while Sharon had two brothers, her father had a lot more, and they all came a-knocking after their time in the service.
He had 7 brothers, and they were out at Camp Abbott, which is Sun River. They fell in love with Oregon too, and so they knew when they got out of the service, they could come to Big Brother's place.
And live they did in this bunkhouse that remains intact to this very day. Eventually, the Matsons made enough money to buy their own land next door. The years passed and the house was rented to many others until one day in the 1990s.
When I came here, I saw the old house that I'd lived in when I was a child, and I thought, oh, somebody has to do something with that house or it's going to get torn down.
And thanks to the Hollinshead family donating 15 acres of their property to Park and Rec, Sharon was able to turn to her husband for a solution.
My husband put it back just the way it was that when I was little, and everything in the house now is very authentic. My mother never threw anything away. It was from the Depression times, and that's just the way that people were. You don't throw things away, you might need it sometime.
Tony Rosengarth, with Sharon's tutelage, did an amazing job of putting things back the way they were in the house. But when it came to the bunkhouse, Sharon wasn't able to be of much help.
And I had to say, you know, I never went into the bunkhouse. My dad told all of us kids, especially us girls, we were not to go near the bunkhouse. So I really didn't know what it was like in the bunkhouse. But I says, the guys all slept in there. They took their baths, they had the coffee, and they played cards out there. And it was very reasonable that you didn't go near the bunkhouse.
Sharon regularly gives tours of the house, but this Saturday you have an opportunity to see the place in all its Christmas glory and enjoy stories of farm life from a woman who actually lived it.
And you'll have homemade cookies and candy, and I'll make it as close to how it was when I was a child here.
A childhood where running water only ran cold, where if you wanted to listen to the radio, you ran wires through the windows from the battery on the tractor, and where the only toys the kids had was an open door to the wide open world.
So it's very much Sharon's your connection to a past that, very few people around Bend are living anymore. And so it's great to be able to sit with her and listen to the stories and hear about all the dairies and the farms and what it was like around Pilot Butte at a very different time.
For Central Oregon Daily News, I'm Scott Elmas.